Paulo, yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, David, just so I follow what you're saying. So the Nikkei is for the Japanese, what the S&P 500 is for the America?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And Nikkei. So here's another thing to think about. If I just take a look at indices, Japan 225, and there it is. So I'm looking for the best source of data. So here's something else to think about when it comes to the Nikkei. You've also got to think about the yen. And if you take a look at like the Bovespa in Venezuela, during periods of hyperinflation, you'll see these equities indices just go straight up, which, it seems counterintuitive at first glance, but really what's happening is the denominator is going down. That's all that's happening. So if I see the Nikkei going straight up, but I'm trading it in yen terms, well, you got to know what is the yen doing. So I'm going to hop on over here, USD JPY. And so here's the dollar in yen terms. So this is the yen. And this is a daily sitting at 157. But here's the interesting thing. If you zoom out and you take a look at this pattern, man, this level here, that 160 level, if 160 breaks, then I mean, the yen's going to 200, which could mean that the Nikkei just keeps going straight up, not because all of a sudden those companies in Japan are that much more profitable, but just because the denominator is going down. The denominator is becoming, it's the yen is just becoming less and less valuable. So, yeah, that's definitely something worth watching. Here's something else worth watching: the dollar. This is definitely worth watching because so many people have been bearish. And if everyone's bearish and the dollar is sitting at support, kind of makes me think that maybe it bounces. Maybe the dollar bounces up to 103, So this is another situation where this pattern here looks like a flag to me. This looks like a bit of a bear flag. It's too long in the tooth, though. It's not very well defined. And you could also say that there's maybe an inverse head and shoulders pattern here. You could say that, I guess. But I think the most important thing is that it's sitting at support, and I am structurally bullish on long end rates. So this is US 30-year rates. So if I'm bullish on rates, if I think yields are going to push higher this year, and if everyone's bearish on the dollar and it's sitting at support, well, if I look around the world and I see Europe falling apart, Japan has real problems with its currency, maybe the dollar becomes a safe haven again, even as people are saying it's the most hated and there's this de-dollarization going on. I kind of think that maybe the dollar could break out to 103. And what would that mean for digital assets? Probably nothing good. So, yeah, just a couple of opinions that I've got about markets right here. What do you guys think? I'm going to go ahead and pause here and drink some more of my coffee.
Just maybe I can share like the on the silver. I don't know if you maybe I missed it or you guys talked about it before. It's like China controls like 40% of the world refined silver, and they effectively January 1st, 2026, they decided to curb or tighten exports of silver to the world. You need to have license now. Before it was like anybody can do it. Is that I mean, like the second largest is like you're talking about Mexico, and so there's really like a few players controls the supply of silver, and if China curbing export of silver outside, and it's been used in a lot of AI applications and so on, causing this rally, and maybe there's more legs into it. Or you
Yeah.
heard it? Did you
So
hear that?
that's so I have heard that. I have heard that. And I'm curious, which miners are your favorite miners, Ramsey? Because I kind of think that's the way to play this. It's just so difficult for me to get long silver after this parabolic rally and all of this jeeting up here. The big candles, all of this volatility up here
Yeah.
kind of makes me think that
Remember I
it's
told you
putting in
about,
a
like silver wheaten, like
right, right, yeah.
we talked about it before, like as like it's a Canadian company, but its symbol is WPM, and it's a pure silver play almost.
Yeah, so one thing that I think about when it comes to silver and also just commodities markets that are traded in Chicago and New York in general is where does the paper silver come from? Like I know, and I haven't read into it enough to really be able to opine, but just at a high level, my understanding is that many of these large investment banks have been manipulating these markets for decades. And the reason that they do it is if they make $100 billion over the course of a decade manipulating the silver market, and then they have to pay a $1 billion fine, well, that's a no-brainer, you know? So how are they manipulating the market though? I don't know how they're doing that. And also, can these banks just like print paper silver? Because
I think
if
you see, like what's happening is really, David, what I understood, this is like run on a bank. Like there's not that much silver around, and there's a lot of leverage in the commodity index. Like in Chicago, there's a lot of leverage. So you're short, but you want to do delivery, and you can't do the delivery of the paper because it's actually big. The leverage makes it bigger than what really exists on the physical silver. So this kind of speculation is they comparing it to a run on the bank, to cover themselves and deliver the actual physical. So it's a purely leveraged speculative that could actually collapse after this leverage position has been taken out. So like at this moment, there's a short squeeze beyond imagination here.
Yeah, so when I take a look at the RSI and I see price moving up towards those highs at 80 or 82 or so, and yet I see RSI already put in a high and is pulling back. So this bearish divergence makes me think that maybe we don't see a fresh high, and in fact, there might be some room for some downside in silver. And, I just have a hard time seeing silver test this breakout, this level of support at 54. I have a hard time seeing it do that, but would it test 70? Sure, sure. And if silver tests 70 and RSI resets and is suddenly down here at 40, like a recent low, maybe around 40, well, if silver's sitting at 70 and the RSI has reset down to 40, maybe that's an interesting, opportunity to enter a long position, possibly. Just a big, big move. And, I was taking a look at Stephen TCG's video that he posted the other day about yields on Uniswap V3 LPs with gold PAX G. So with two gold products, XAUT and PAX G, and he was showing yields of it looked like 7% on those in that gold LP. So I'm kind of curious to see if I can find it here. It's got to be on one of these three chains: mainnet, Arbitrum, or Base. And XAUT and PAX G. There we go. Okay, so we've got V3 and V4 pools. And I mean, hey, they've all got TVL. So even the small ones have like enough TVL. PAX G, XAUT, and so 13% on gold. It's really, really good. That's really good. Look at all that volume. Look at all that volume. Oh my goodness. So what we need to do next is I need to grab the chart of volume over here on Uniswap. So I'm going to hop on over here to pool, and actually I want to click on explore pool, and I just want to make sure that was mainnet, right? This that LP, this is mainnet. Yep. Okay, so back on over here, I want to go ahead and select just mainnet, and the protocol is V3. Awesome.